Okay, let's go. Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Modern Eater Show right here from Studio Kitchen, Colorado as we ramp up and fall is upon us.
Yep.
And I'm just imagining. Brian, imagine this. Imagine a world that just has no ice.
Ooh, that's not a world I like.
It's, no cold drinks.
No.
Nothing really refreshing.
No tasty, frosty beverages.
Never seeing an ice cube or keeping your beer cold in a cooler.
I can't imagine.
What would that world be like?
It wouldn't be a place that I would live.
Imagine it.
No, I can't.
You cannot imagine it?
I won't go there, man. I do not like the heat. I went to Hawaii and I wanted to stay inside more than but I hiked.
Ice is used for so many things.
Yes.
Not just drinks.
Yeah.
Imagine not having your fish on top of ice.
Ice, yeah. Imagine not having a shaved Hawaiian ice. That's a tasty little frosty dessert.
Shaved ice.
Shaved ice, man.
Imagine
it was
all
just
of that
ice.
stuff gone. What a dull world we would live in.
Yeah.
Would
I'm
you
with
want to
you.
live in that world?
No, I'm telling you. No.
You need an ice-filled world.
Don't take me there, man. You know I live in a world at 32 degrees. Remember my world of produce. I'm trying to keep stuff alive that's been picked out of the ground.
What would you do without ice?
Yeah, what would I couldn't. I mean, ever since I've had my company, I think I told I had this story for us already, is about the fact that I had a special ice machine called a flake ice, which you don't have a model here today, but it's hard to have a flake ice model because, quite honestly, it's almost like a shaved ice because it's got it's got a blade that's constantly churning all day and just dropping little pieces of flakes.
When you think of ice, do you think of Brittany Stanley?
I do, because I tell you, I've got one of my Ice-O-Matics. I love what she does.
Brittany Stanley, Ice-O-Matic here with us right now, and it's so good to have you in the kitchen.
Yes, thank you for having me.
But what a sad world we have in the kitchen with no ice machine.
I know, we were just talking about that. We definitely need to get you a little under counter so you can have your beer cool.
Like a restaurant with no ice. Think of the struggles.
Yeah.
They're real. They're out there.
Right. Well, and, in a safety standpoint, too, I mean, heat is just as important as, freezing things sometimes and cooling them down. So a lot of different applications, right?
Well, and think about that. Chefs have to cool. You just nailed it right there, because chefs do have to bring something down to a colder temp.
You don't want that
immediately.
Botulism, man. You do not want that.
You do not want botulism. You definitely don't.
At all.
And
Ice-O-Matic, you've probably heard it all, right? Every ice joke in the world.
In my trainings, I like to play Ice Ice Baby as I come in. Yeah. I'm kind of running out of songs, though, so if you have any recommendations, I'm down.
I don't know, Don. See what you can find as far as ice songs go that maybe we've never heard back there, and just play them underneath us at the studio there at iHeart. So we always, Brian and I, we like to be ice geeks, but I'm more uninformed than Brian on ice. I know a few things, and mostly it's just for my drinks. It really is. That's what I need ice for. Other things besides drinks, Brittany?
Yeah, sure. So like we were talking about from the food standpoint of cooling down, right? So there's kind of a danger zone when it comes to cooking. And so cooling down at a quick time frame, and getting it down to a certain temperature, you're going to have to do that with ice, right? And so flaked ice can be a really good ice form for that. What else? The medical field, right? So think about, medicine, but then patients as well, ice chips and things like that, women in labor, all that kind of stuff. Business and application, industry, right? So a lot of it goes into cups, right? A lot of it's consumable, but, display ice too with seafood and things like that. I mean, think about, you guys were saying a world without ice, so think about going into a sushi bar and your sushi not sitting on ice, right? Man. So yeah, so a lot of different applications.
Last time we met up, I said, Europeans, man, what is it with Europeans and no ice? Is it electricity shortage? Why are we not making ice in Europe?
It's really interesting, and I don't know. So maybe next time we'll bring in somebody from England and we'll ask him.
You got an idea?
Yeah, I can tell you. So renownedly, Europeans are healthier than Americans, right? I mean, those are statistics, right?
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Holy.
This better
take
go
like
somewhere
5
good.
steps back. Whoa, okay.
Right. So
bring it to me.
Yeah, so here it is. So consuming a beverage and cooling it off is harder on the body, right? So if you drink something if you drink something that's room temperature, right? Well, no matter what it is,
yeah,
your
I'm
body
with ya, I'm with
processes
ya.
it faster. So if you consume something that's really cold, then your body has to put more blood down into your stomach to warm it up
That
to a
is true.
temperature that it can break it down.
I've never heard Jay Parker spit knowledge like this before.
Well, here, listen, I think everything he's saying is true about the temperature of liquids to drink them all day long, but
Yeah, it's
I'm
true.
not going there with the Europeans. I don't think that's like. I think it's because these people came from a place with no electricity,
Well,
and
listen,
they were like, "Hey, listen, put your beer
no.
outside. It gets a temperature outside. I'm going to drink it."
Well,
Okay.
hold on. What I'm saying is about. I'm not saying that that's the only reason, but I'm saying like they don't want the ice because that's part of their
Being
diet.
healthy.
Right.
Okay, being healthy.
And I don't know if that's why they do it, but I know it contributes,
I'll buy
whether it's on
into it.
purpose or not.
I like where you're going with it, man. I mean, I think you're selling it and everything.
Brittany,
but
it's nice
I mean,
to finally meet you. Thanks for coming on to the show.
But
I love you, Jay Parker.
the whole world lives off of American tourism, so cater to us.
Well, and
Give it
he's,
some ice.
he's definitely
from
on
one
to
extreme
something. I think he's definitely on to something. I mean, when you go to Europe, and I've had the pleasure of going a few times, when you get a
he's
glass
onto
of water, for example, it doesn't come with ice in it, and maybe that's why, right?
Well, I mean, this is now
Your
this,
cocktail still will, right?
This part is just my opinion. My opinion is that in a lot of European places that don't come with ice, it's because they didn't have an ice machine or a lot of electricity.
Yes.
So they're just like, man,
Thank you.
can drink
That's
it.
where
It's
I'm
a
going
culture,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Yeah.
a cultural thing,
Sure.
right? Versus, now they're just used to it. So when they're over here and they say, no ice, they're just used to it. But it still helps their health.
Well, and I think in some cases it can be sort of a luxury item as well. You can have regular, normal temperature tap water, or you can have ice cold water, right?
Yeah.
But here's the
Ooh,
deal.
you have 3 types of ice over here. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, I look at this place. This is fancy. Motel 6 with 2 different kinds of ice. Woo.
Yeah. So luxury item, and so Ice-O-Matic takes ice to a whole nother level. Do you
Sure.
mind if we break off, come back, talk about that?
Yeah,
What that whole other
absolutely.
level is? All right, Brittany
just getting
Stanley,
warmed up.
Ice-O-Matic. I'm telling you, we love
I love
ice.
it.
and
You
this
guys
is
do.
like-
I love it.
just jumped in on this conversation. You're probably a little weirded out by it, but I think that people really have, everybody has their own ice jam. This is how I like my ice.
Ice
You know,
jam.
I ask
like
for a
that.
big rock every time I go get a drink. Now I say I want my shot of tequila on a big rock.
Yeah.
And that's and half of the time the bartender gets it, and half of the time the bartender stirs and looks big rock.
Right,
And someone else, usually from down the bar, will scream, "That's ice."
right.
All right, more ice talk right here on 630 KHOW when we return from Studio Kitchen, Colorado, the Modern Eater Show.
Choose your path through Cyberland.
All right, you guys are clear. We got like
And Facebook for all the.
2 minutes until the live read.
Just search The Modern Eater or check out the website, themoderneater.com.
1 minute to live read.
You're here for Encore Energy. How much are you paying for your natural gas? Wouldn't you like to save 10 to 20% on your natural gas bill? Of course you would. You're not crazy. Encore Energy and Brian Rizzuto can do just that, save you money. Give Brian a call, 720-245-5771. Maybe you own a restaurant or a brewery and use a ton of natural gas. This is how you save money. Get a free savings review from Brian Rizzuto and Encore Energy. Call Brian at 720-245-5771. Save 10 to 20% on your natural gas bill right now.
30 seconds to live read.
Spirits. It's a distillery. It's a place to hang. It's about quality. It's about taste. It's about passion. Infused with American spirit. Rocker whiskey, rocker rum, rocker vodka. Get ready.
15 seconds.
Feel and experience Old Town Littleton. And if you get hungry while you're
Seconds.
drinks, they've got the best food truck line in town. Open Thursdays, Fridays.
5 seconds.
Rockerspirits.com. Rockerspirits.com.
Okay, back to our riveting ice conversation momentarily. Jeff Rourke, A-Plus Beverage Solutions. This is the man. I mean, he's making your beer taste like the brewer intended it to taste. 20 years in the business installing tap lines.
Family man.
Family man. 3 kids.
Yes.
3 daughters. He told me he's going to keep trying until he gets a boy. That's very bold to keep doing that until you get a boy.
But he does the best tap lines. And I will.
Most trusted man in the business. They fly him out. I mean, Colorado, he's our hyper-local staple, but people are catching on to him and bringing him out of the state. Most
Name drop.
recent project?
Name drop.
You
Name
want
drop.
Monarch Casino.
Yes. Okay.
Huge.
Huge.
To run glycol lines like through a casino, half a mile
wait, think about
away,
that.
man.
Did he tell you how many miles must have gone through that building?
Long way.
Long way.
Just a long way.
And to keep the beer fresh all the
Fresh
way
and cold.
to
That's
your
the way
mouth.
you want it.
That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And in order to do that, it's Jeff Rourke and A-Plus Beverage Solution. He's a phone call away. You need a pen.
I will get my pen.
This is his cell phone number.
Please give it to me twice.
Don't prank him.
I won't.
Just give him a call because he'll do maintenance as well. We know, and I go into restaurants and bars all the time. There's nothing worse. I feel so bad for the bartender who's pouring foam into a pitcher.
And I feel even worse for the customer.
Before they can pour it into a glass, and the temperature's changed. It's just a train wreck. And Jeff Rourke and A-Plus Beverage Solutions is going to make that all go away. If you give him a call at 720-272-3809.
One more time.
720-272-3809. It's Jeff Rourke and A-Plus Beverage Solutions.
Yo, what's up? This is Justin Brunson, Culture Meat and Cheese in Denver Central Market. I'm a meat guy. And you're listening to the Modern Eater Show on iHeartRadio.
Why not? Just saw Justin Brunson today. He left his apron. That's the kind of kitchen we have. You're going to have so much fun, you're going to leave your apron.
Too close there.
That's right.
That's why Justin was here when we got here?
He didn't come say hi to you,
You
man.
want to hear something funny? You want to know where he left it?
Where?
In the walk-in with his hat. in the walk-in. Because I took an apron and a hat out of the walk-in, and I was like, I don't know whose this is.
That should be alarming.
Whatever,
right?
and put it over there, you know? I mean, I don't know.
What I want to hear is Justin left it on the ice machine. He left
In the
it, and we
ice
need that.
machine.
Okay, so seriously, here we are. We're flat-footed. We don't have any, it's like, Jay, run up to 7-Eleven, get a bag of ice.
All the time. All the time.
It's tacky. It's inappropriate. We're better than that.
Yeah, if you were
We
really
need to fix that.
And you don't get to pick the ice you want when you're at set. You got to just get the schlub
Take what comes
bag,
out.
you know, because I don't know if you know this or not, but they make different ice, and they make it for different purposes, and it actually enhances said drink per ice you've chosen.
Because it's amount of melt. It's all about the amount of
we're
melt
gonna get that
in there. Yep.
So you, Brittany
Yes, sir.
Stanley, Ice-O-Matic, you go into a potential account, right? What do you do fact-finding wise?
Sure. So there's definitely a lot of questions that you kind of want to lead with, depending on their application. But, let's just throw a regular restaurant, right, that does brunch, lunch, dinner, and they have a bar, all that. So, figuring out basically what they're using with ice. So do you have a really intense cocktail menu? Do you want to kind of have that mixologist cube? Are you just doing frozen drinks, things like that?
So if you're a sports bar,
Right. So you're going to do a lot of beer.
your needs are going to be different than a cocktail bar.
Right. So, you would probably go sort of the half cube route. That's probably the most versatile.
In the
That's
sports
this guy
bar, you're
also.
saying, right?
Yeah, right. So you're going to have a lot of waters, right, poured. So you're going to want to do, ice water
Where
with
you're going to
that.
make it look like, and you're going to want to slow down your patrons because they're probably
yeah,
drinking
you want to
way
make
too
sure
much,
they're
right?
hydrating
I'm with you.
themselves.
I'm totally
Yeah.
with you.
But you'll
hey,
have
Jay,
your
do you know
people-
something about that?
What happened?
What happened? Slowing down your patrons when they're drinking too much with a smaller ice cube. Did you know that you can do that?
Man, listen, we don't have enough time to get into the patrons that I serve and
Coming from
slowing
the bar
them down.
world, yeah, you
I had
want
a
to
guy,
make sure.
Brittany, I had a guy last night. He threatened to take the life right out of my body because him and his buddies had. I won't even tell you how many drinks to protect myself,
I was
but
gonna say.
they had too many drinks, and I was like, "Hey, man, listen, I can't give any more right now. The ice or not was not going to help, And he was like, I'll kill you and take your life." And I'm like, "Okay, have a good night," that sort of thing. So the ice
Thank
wouldn't
you.
help me. However,
Maybe. Would you like some of this delicious?
yeah.
This
Hey, man,
Water and ice.
Yeah, can I offer you a glass of ice if you just crunch on this and don't kill me, sir?
Can I get a life insurance policy on you, babe?
So, in addition to figuring out what ice form is best for that application, sizing is super, super important, right? So understanding how many turns is each table going to have, at their busiest time.
So size matters.
Wow.
In our world, very much.
Is that right?
That's
Okay.
wait. Hey, though, Greg, she said something really important there. I would never even have thought that she's looking at turns on tables,
Sure.
amount of people through a restaurant
You're going
for
to dispense more
the
ice,
size of
right?
ice.
Well, and you have to think about making up for the ice that you use in brunch, right? So we size all of our machines based on a 24-hour production, right? So if you do a 400-pound machine, it's going to make 400 pounds in 24 hours. Well, if you use 300 of that at brunch, for example, it's going to take 24 hours to make up to do that again. So, and a lot of people don't think that. I like to tell this story, actually. When I first started, one of my old managers had a customer, and the GM was calling and saying, we're out of ice all the time. We have a lemon, because everybody loves to say that. And we need a new machine. It's broken. It's broken. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to come in and figure out what's going on. So he goes in at like 8:30 in the morning, and he talks to the staff. And he's like, trying to figure out why the guy's coming in at 10:30 a.m. and half of the bin is empty, right? Well, it turns out they have a fairly extensive soup menu, and these guys are cooking huge vats of soup in the morning, and like we talked about earlier, they have to cool it down, right, so they can safely hold it, and they're using half of the bin. But so it's understanding all of these different things that are going to take that. I mean, if you have an oyster bar, for example, I used to work at Angelo's Tavern over on 6th, and we use a ton of ice just to put out on the oyster bar. Right, so just kind of thinking through all of that, it's more than just your waters and your teas and even your alcoholic drinks.
So what machine is just like the big daddy of them all?
Big daddy, like most commonly purchased, or like our biggest?
Will give the most ice.
I use 1,200 pounds, man.
Do you really?
So
mine is a 1,200 pound a day.
So we just came out with a 2,000 pound pearl ice. So that's that chewable ice that you see in Sonic and things like that. So now we have a 30-inch wide, 2,000 pound pearl ice, so big for gas stations and
those are the little
dispensers.
ones. If you've
the
seen
little
it,
one,
folks.
yeah.
Here,
These little
will
guys.
you hand those to me, because I can put my hand.
Can you juggle with those?
Right up. I could on a good
man of many
day.
talents.
Yeah, I could on a good day. I don't know this late into it, but
one of the
but these are
coolest
small.
things-
This is cool.
One of the coolest things that Ice-O-Matic is addressing right now is how to make sure that you're servicing and cleaning your machines.
Right.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so the pearl ice has a different components inside, right? We were talking about it's kind of an auger and extrudes the ice, and flaked ice gets chopped and things like that. But your cubers, which are the most commonly purchased ice, they're the most versatile. They use evaporator plates, and so it's a totally different inside of a machine. Until we came out with our Elevation series, which is our new cuber series, you couldn't take any of these components out, right? So it was always a service call. And let's be honest, I mean, ice machines are hot boxes for bacteria, right? They get hot, they get cold, water's introduced, it's dark. So
And
all
there's
sorts of gross
always water.
things.
Yeah, it's
always.
just-
And it's the only machine that never shuts off in a kitchen.
Interesting.
And it's also the only machine that produces food, because ice is food, right? So, being able to clean your machines and make sure that your ice is clean is extremely important. And, if you don't take that front panel off, you don't know what's going on in there.
And if it's a service call, you wait it out. You
Well,
just
and
go,
that's-
I'm waiting until
it's
the wheels fall off,
expensive,
right?
yeah.
And I think I shared with both of you that I switched to. I used to buy these machines, and mine. I mean, they're expensive. They're like
They are.
$6,000 or more, and I would buy them. And then I decided recently to get on a contract with someone where they come in
Right.
and they clean it, because these are things that I was worried about.
But if you're
in
with
my
Ice-O-Matic,
operations.
they would give you the ability to make sure you
Right.
can
Well,
do that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, this is their new technology, though. This is
Right.
brand new killer stuff. I mean, well, now that I'm glad that I know this, because now, I mean, I don't want to.
Well, we went on
guy
the
out, but,
Ice-O-Matic tour, and we watched you disassemble.
Disassemble.
Disassemble?
Yeah,
Disassemble.
Anyway, man.
Disassemble. Yeah, I know what
Makes
you meant,
sense.
babe.
All right, I'll correct you next time.
I just want to.
Golly, man. It's like everybody knew what I was saying, and Brian had to be like, I'm smart. It's smarter than everybody here. So I'm going to disassemble.
Just take it out of my vocabulary and be like, I took it apart in half, and now
Yeah,
there's
so Brittany, you can take it apart.
Right, exactly.
And I saw it firsthand, and it seems very reasonable. You can run right through your dishwasher.
Well, everything is accessible, right? You don't have to actually move the machine to access, because when you think about it, it's full of 400 pounds of ice in the bin with a 200-pound machine on the top. You don't want to have to move that out to access any of these components. So everything's accessible right there, and yes, you can remove them. And the key thing about this is you can remove them with no tools. They're all snap-in, snap-out parts. And then you can put them in your commercial dishwasher, wipe them down. So
What do you say to a guy like Brian, who will probably have his ice machine until he's 70?
right.
And what do you say to him to say, hey, listen, here's just really what we're working with, and here's how far it's come, and these are the things that Ice-O-Matic can do for you to be able to let go of not having to get on Craigslist every 4 weeks to find a part?
Sure. Well, So do you mean like purchasing parts?
Yeah, like, I mean, do you just say, guys like Brian or anybody,
I'll
a
tell you-
restaurant, do you say, just continue with that until it croaks altogether, or no, here's why you need to upgrade?
Well, I mean, if you sustain the machine and you're maintaining it and you're sanitizing it, I mean, I've seen machines in the field that have lasted 15 years. You know, it really depends. I mean, we recommend or we expect, you know, the average life to be somewhere around 7 years.
I was curious because mine, I get like 5. But and I'll tell you, I work them hard.
Well, and that makes a very big difference. I mean, when you
yeah.
think of a car, right? If you're not getting your oil changed as often as you should, you're not, you know, doing engine checks and things like that. Eventually, you know, the corrosion that can happen inside of a machine and all these things will eventually hurt the life of it.
Well, and I have a different temperature. Mine are in 55 degrees. Mine are not in your recommended temperature range to run.
That's cold, right?
They're on the cold side, and I've always wanted. Here's my dream. My dream is I want one of your ice machines to work in a 32-degree room. But what I've seen at my farms is that I just need conveyor belts and all this jazz. So I bring the ice out of your machine into my machines. But trust, I am an ice geek, man. I love because my whole world is how do I keep produce fresh
without the ice part.
Well, ambient temperature of air is really important, but people often forget that the ambient temperature of the water is also really important. So if you've got hot water coming in or warmer temperature water, it's going to take longer for that water to freeze.
Yes, yeah.
What about noise?
Right.
Renownedly, ice machines are the loudest thing in the room.
Right. They can be.
Has that come a long way?
I think so, yes.
And you have the ability to put them in a different location in the restaurant too, right?
Right. So you're talking about remote condensers, right? So when you see like fast food restaurants and things like that, they've got small kitchens with a lot of equipment, right? So they're creating a lot of heat. So they want to be able to discharge that heat somewhere else, so they put them on the roof. Now you've got to have a good setup, right? So it's important to sort of know that you're going to have that application when you kind of build your restaurant out. But you know, if you're not in a really hot place and your machine has got enough room to breathe, I mean, yes, you'll hear it a little bit, but you know, for the most part, they're not that noisy.
It's just the crash of the ice.
Yeah, that's the loudest part, right?
And the ice comes tumbling down. Ice is one of those things to, you know, again, I think you underappreciate it until you don't have it.
Yeah. Well, like you started the segment. Yeah.
Have you ever been?
You don't just have to stop talking.
Have you ever been that guy?
But
And truly, you know, so here's your home. Here's your refrigerator with your freezer up top, and you've got this ice machine that makes it. Mine has a mind of its own because ice is all over the freezer, not just in the bed.
Oh.
So I pull it out, and it's a huge chunk. And then I go at the bottom, it's like, oh, there's a little yellow in there. That's not great, you know.
Don't eat the yellow ice.
Yeah, I clean that out. And then all of a sudden I have no ice at all. And then I'll fill a couple trays.
You're letting your refrigerator make it for you. Oh.
hey, man,
Really?
listen, I've had ice.
I should not?
I've
No.
had ice in my refrigerator for a decade, but none of it's yellow. You know,
Wait,
there's got to be some other components. Let me tell you this, because you also have to be careful with a large ice machine, because here's a true story. I worked at a sports bar, and coincidentally, as I reached in to grab a thing of ice, it dropped a pallet of ice on my hand.
Oh.
And on it.
Ow.
Now, listen, I mean, it didn't hurt, but it cut perfect brackets of where each ice cube was on the top of my hand. So I had like 6 holes in the top of my hand of where the ice cubes were. So also,
Really?
Yeah.
You know,
so a lot
be
of people
careful.
don't know that's how ice is actually made. And to be completely transparent, when I started working at Ice-O-Matic, I didn't really know this either. I guess I thought it was like a popcorn machine of just cubes everywhere. But it actually comes off as a giant slab, right? And then the bridge thickness, which is what holds all of the cubes together, and why adjusting it's so important, is when it hits
It breaks.
Jay's hands, right?
That's right.
It breaks into all these little cubes, and so that's why you have that little lip
what's
right
it called?
there.
The bridge what?
It's called the bridge thickness.
The bridge thickness.
Right.
That's what Freeman.
So often, more often than not, right, when you see bartenders taking the scoop and they're breaking it all apart because it's not adjusted correctly, and so it's freezing too much till it drops off, so it doesn't break when it hits the bin.
You're teaching me something new. I love this, folks.
I thought it was popcorn too.
Yeah, no.
No. I knew it. I knew it falls off and but I didn't realize it was in complete sheets. I thought it broke the moment it fell.
No, it doesn't. Comes off as one sheet.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to break when it hits wherever.
Right.
It's
So
going.
in all the bins, there's a deflector, right, that it hits, and so it kind of just And so it hits, and it's ideally supposed to break into all individual cubes and then slides into the bin.
I can't. Yeah, my GM's going to be thrilled when I say, "Hey, listen, the bridge thickness on the ice machine's a little too thick because that's not breaking all the way
And
when
then
it
he's
hits."
going to say, fix it.
Yeah, she's going to say, "You were late, and why are you wearing a beanie?"
Well, if
to
it's an
work?"
Ice-O-Matic, I can adjust it for you.
There you go.
Nice. Ice-O-Matic. I mean, truly, here's the. Let's do this. I was going to break now, but I think we need to extend this 2 minutes long. Ice-O-Matic is one of those Colorado companies that people don't know what a force this is.
Thank you for bringing that up. Since 1970, or wait,
We've been around for a little over 60 years now.
60 years
I should
now.
get
Wow,
the
even
exact
older,
date.
but
we've
yes.
been in the same building off of Havana and I-70.
And let's face it, you probably had a million opportunities to go build your equipment out of the country and bring it back and outsource, but you've decided to stay right here in Denver, Colorado, which
Absolutely. We employ a little over 200 Denver people. So.
But you ship all over the world.
We do. We ship globally. Yeah. Which, as you guys know, is kind of getting a little nerve-wracking, right, in what's going to happen. So, but we have no intention of moving our factory whatsoever. We're very proud to be American-made.
Good for you.
and Colorado-made.
Yeah.
That's right.
Brittany Stanley, cool.
Thank
right?
you, guys.
All right.
Brittany, thank you so much.
Saturday
for
night,
right
thanks for taking the time out, truly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
It was
it
my
so much.
pleasure. Thanks.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
There it
Bye-bye.
is. Ice-O-Matic. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk spirits, distilling, and we always love to meet new friends, and that's exactly what we'll do. Broken Arrow Distillery and Ron Johnson up next right here on the Modern Eater Show on iHeartRadio.